Hello. What's up? All right. Day 2, part 2, second phase, second part, probably third part too. How do I put this simply? I'm making the mace. I have the mace head. It's a bit weird looking after implementation. I think it's not too bad, honestly. The STL file for both halves of the head are ready to print, and as soon as I have my printer dialed up for the bronze part, I can probably print like a small prototype of pretty much everything. Just like, I want to say 25% scale, just to see everything works properly with the bronze filament. And right now, what we're going to do is a very, very simple design process. The shaft, wooden shaft, which is just a cylinder. Easiest thing in the world, I hope. Right? And the grip. And that one is a little more complicated. Because what this thing is supposed to be is basically a leather bound handle with like a really small, what looks to be like a handguard curved out on top. And that's easy enough. Yeah. This looks to be a steel handguard, which means I probably want to make this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, that would make it 5 pieces. 2 pieces for the head, 1 for the main shaft, a steel handguard, well, steel colored. Let's be frank. This is not actual. It's not actual steel or sintered steel powders I'm printing with. This is just plastic, as well as a dark brown grip to basically act as leather, and maybe like a steel cap on the grip as well. Okay, so that's 16ths. Let me write that down on my notepad. No, steel handguard. And that should come out as a pretty professional looking thing there. Yeah. Not too hard. Okay. Let me see. We also have the shaft diameter. Good. Shaft diameter is obviously the most important part. Let me see. How do I want to print this out? I don't. Not in 2D. The reason why I used 2D in the first place was to design the mace head, because those are basically individual panels that can be split into 2D. But if I'm going to do this, it should actually be, yeah, it needs to be a Tinkercad window instead. So let me bring that up. Tinkercad. Right. There we go. Noel reference art. Let me take it off. Where'd I put it? There we are. That can be shrunk a little bit more, I think. Yeah. Alright. So there's the reference art. There's Tinkercad, which I'll be using for the 3D implementation. So that should be pretty simple. You can see here the mace head design. Ooh, look, you can just spin it around 3D. That's the top of the mace head. This is not the mace head bond. This is, for some reason, yeah, this is the actual image it should be using. This is the bottom of it. As you can see, this is just the glue on the shaft, and this part glues on to the top over here, and you get the head. So those are two separate files because they will be printing separately. Let's see, shaft, shaft head. We're not opposed to dirty jokes in here. Let me see. According to my notes, the shaft should be approximately 195 millimeters long, and the diameter should be 19.8 millimeters. That's very easy to implement. It's almost exactly what's already in the default. I just need to be a tiny bit smaller to fit with the pommel correctly. And let's see, my 5. This is very nearly the max my printer can print at, the max height that my printer can handle. Let's see, edit grid. I'm changing the custom presets. Actually, no, I can just use this, can't I? Oh, wait. Why does it not have Ender 3 profiles? That's the most common profile. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Anyhow, the Ender 3 build plate is approximately 230 millimeters by 230 millimeters. This is nowhere near the max. 90-degree angle, and then just drop it flush over there and there. Now I can technically do some funky things by like adding wooden lines and everything else to it. I'm not gonna. That's a pain in the ass. This is also not actually flush. What's going on here? There, now it's flush. Alright, and to print this out, you basically need to set your printer to have supports touching the build plate, because this is not going to adhere at all. And this is a single line, and you expect it to carry the entire weight of the print? Of course not. But that's very, very easy. If you're using Cura or any other slicer, they should have some pretty basic options to make sure that it connects to the build plate easy enough. Just make sure it's center so it's a little easier to print. And I plan to use like wooden filament to handle this. That should be pretty good. Anyhow, shaft is done. That's the easy part. New design. The second part out of 4 for today is the grip and pommel you see here, which is not nearly as simple as a shaft, right? It is also technically a cylinder, but there's a flared base for the pommel, and there is a connecting line in the center over there, basically acting as a ring. Let me get a close view of what that actually looks like. Where did I put the reference image? Reference image, all live stuff. Should really organize this by Mace project. Nope. Yeah, follow illustration. Alright. Alright. Yeah. Zooming in, it looks like a basic torus at the center of the grip handle, with it then flared out to the steel pommel. And that is roughly bisected in the center. So from our notes, we see that we want the handle to be 160 millimeters long. Or tall in this instance. And that gives us a rough estimate of what the actual size of it will be. You put the torus, let me see. Let's make the torus 22 by 22. And then we raise the height. Oh, that's, there we go. Raise the height to about 80. And that's about center. Well, time to put it in center. Nice if I zoomed in. Just squeeze it a little more that way. And there we are. That's roughly right. All right, next part is to make a really elongated, ooh, this is even better, paraboloid. You flip it on its head. Like, I do not consider myself to have anything even loosely considered decent, like, graphical art skills, but 3D printing has a bunch, like, software engineers and STEM kiddies of all kind are the sort of people attracted to 3D printing in the first place. They don't have any art skills either, so they have built all sorts of tools to make it easy for the rest of us. Which, you know, for me, that's good. Oh, that's too high. Anyhow, doesn't matter. What I just want to do is have it overlap 25, that's 35, oops. 25 by 25. Reduce snap grid to 0.1, that makes eaters to center properly. And then, to make this a proper flare base, because you see the reference art, that's basically a really shallow curve over here, right? That's very easy to implement. You just need to drag this down. Oops. Or up, rather. And then just lower height. So let me increase it to like 90. And see if that looks good when reduced to base like that. It's a little offset, you can tell over here. In fact, you can probably even increase the height even more. Let's get up to 130. Snap it off entirely. Drop height down. And then center it even better. Yeah. Not gonna lie, I really tempted to make some kind of kinky joke about flared bases, but just assume I did. Yeah, that means it overlaps properly. There's a nice faint taper down to the center shaft that leads to the handguard and off to the rest of the shaft. You can now combine this as a singular object. And it's not looking terrible. Now this print, I would want to, in fact, print it vertically, because the flared base, at the very least, means I have a stable platform for the printer to work off compared to the top end. It's less likely to wobble, and there's probably going to be better build plate adherence. Hopefully. Just that I print everything in the closet, so nobody needs to see what I print, because I guarantee you, if you were to print this at home and it's like out in the living room or something, and somebody walks by, they're going to give you some odd looks. I mean, I would. I think this is... maybe I would print like horizontally anyhow. If you print it with supports, it wouldn't roll around too much. It should be fine. But yeah, 160 millimeter high grip. Basically gives you a two-handed grip across the whole thing. Next part are the details on it. Now, 25 by 25 is his max. So the top end over here should be 19.8 by 19.8 millimeters exactly, which will fit with the shaft and with the mace head. 25 by 25 then becomes the base value for the pommel, the steel pommel that we are going to add to this. Let's see. New design. Let's see, where did I put the image? I just had the image on me. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? I can just pop this up. Alright. So the pommel is basically, let's see. It's basically a cone topped by a disc. And from the looks of it, the cone has a pretty sharp angle, right? It's kind of arbitrary, but let's just put it at that. And then we take a cylinder, raise it up yay high, make it a hole instead. Then we just mount it right over on top. This is right. Oh, also increase the whole thing. Snag it off. Make it center. Well, that anyhow. What you do here then? Actually, no. Is that too high or too low? I think it's a little too much of the material would be left over. Just increase height. Well, increase like distance. Drop it a little lower. I think that will do, right? Well, anyhow. Combine objects and then you have the base. Easy. Then there is the cylinder itself on top. Well, actually, it's less of a cylinder and another cone shape, huh? Well, bisected cone shape, rather. And the easiest way to do that is just to copy paste and just draw on top. Shrink it from 25 to 25 to 20, straight up. And if we feel that that's too small, that's the easiest thing in the world to just fix. Yeah, 20 by 20 is a little too small. Let's do 23. 23. A little too big now. All right, and that's it. That's the gist of it. You just print this tiny thing out, glue it on the bottom of the shaft of the grip, and you have a pommel. And because the pommel should ideally be steel, it should be a different color filament than you would use for the handle itself. Yeah, very easy. Very, very easy. Let's see, with that done, oops, I clicked on the object instead. Mace head, yeah, mace head top, mace head bottom, shaft, grip, pommel, and handguard. Let me see. There's not a very clear picture of the handguard. But all a handguard is the flat disc, so cylinder, flattened to, actually it should be a cylinder. I think it actually should be a torus, huh? With a cylinder to fill out in the center. Mostly because if I print it out as a cylinder, it is going to be very sharp. And that's not quite how it's supposed to be. It's a disc, but a rounded disc. So, a torus with its, or maybe a half sphere? Nah. Torus, cylinder, and there is a raised lip on the handguard, so that it hooks onto the, what would you call this? It basically acts as a sheath. But you'll see in the anime version over here, for instance, that there is no sheath because it's supposed to disconnect, right? She just like whenever if she's going into battle, she tears the handguard out of the leather sheath and starts hitting people over the head. But there is a handguard. The handguard has to be wider than 19.8, which is obviously the shaft. But how wide is the question? We have the widest base of the pommel at 25 millimeters diameter, just based off our roughly measured shaft dimensions, and then just estimate how much more we wanted. The pommel itself will be a little wider, so let's say 30. We then slap the cylinder right in the center of it, or roughly in the center. Just drop height. And as you can see from the lip over here, we dropped a little too much. That should do it. It doesn't matter if the bottom lip comes out a little bit, I think. It'll make it easier to glue on. But it'll be even easier if we just combine shape so it's a single object, and then decrease the height even more. Now it's a flat disc. And then the difficult part is designing the lip that's supposed to catch onto the leather. Like if this was like Blender or something, all you would need to do is like pinch part of the material and lift it up or something like that. But it's not. Tinkercad is ultimately a pretty simple program. Well, not even a program, it's browser based. But let me see if they have anything in the library shapes. Shape library. Figure. Excuse me. Body. No. Oh, design starters. what I'm looking for is basically an arch, right? Charms, diamonds, structures and scenery, brick wall, fuel cell, pergola roof. Who's making these things? Thumbtacks even. Oh, that's pretty funny. Wait, if it's arch I'm looking for. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Kind of. Raise the dimensions of it. Then I shrink it down. Let me see. If I click shift, can I shrink it down proportionally? Yes, I can. Oh, that's much better. Alright. And then drag it out a little bit like that. No, that's not what I want. Maybe. Does that look alright? Not really. For one, I can shrink this a little bit more. So it combines into the main body a little bit. I think I actually want to decrease the height a little bit. The lip on her weapon doesn't seem to be particularly large, but let me double check on the reference image I have. Reference image, oops. Zoom in. Okay. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Man, that's such a weird shape to try to implement. Definitely the more unusual the shape, the harder it is going to be to turn into something useful. Get rid of this. Let me think. What's the best way to handle this? No, not quite. Let me see. That's just such a weird shape. And there's no like... You're supposed to basically... According to the reference image I have, which I just put away again, I am counterproductive sometimes. Ah, here we are. Alright. According to the blow up on the reference image I have, this part is supposed to lift up and curve over. So we have basically two arches made out of the material. Actually, I guess I can make it work. Rotate this 90 degrees. way down. And then I wish there was like a eraser function. But lacking one, I will make do. I guess, well, what I can do, turn this to a whole shape, make it a lot smaller. Oops. Should do it. I can do further shenanigans by cutting the torso in half, like so. And my objects. There's some processing trouble. There we go. And then take the half a torus, turn that into a hole. Shrink it a lot. Maybe I just take these out first. That almost looks like it's right. So it's a half torus shape. Stretched out so it cuts through. Remove these instead. Let's see how it looks when I combine the two objects. It looks a lot more like the clip we're looking for. Good. Obviously, there's still some processing to do to get rid of the extra plastic around here, smooth out this over here. But we're on the right path at least, and well, at the very least, getting rid of that little errant over there. There, easy cleanup. How do I clean up this? Maybe just another round roof. Shrink this into holes, shrink this by a lot. How do we push it through here? Oh, maybe not. Use the half sphere instead. That way we get nice round shapes. Like so. Like so. Then we don't need to mess with it too much because it's supposed to fit through. Like so. Well. All right. A little bit more center. And combine shapes. And you know what? This looks pretty nice. It looks exactly as if a blacksmith pinched off a bit of material and pulled it out and made a hook out of it. So there you go, the handguard. Handguard hooks onto the oh, I see how it works now. This is let's see. The leather sheath that goes around the handle on Noel's design is designed to basically pull apart. There's a bit of like shoelacing along the side that probably unravels as soon as you tug off one end, and then the rest of it just flies open as soon as you as soon as you pull off the mace. And then the little bit of hook over here connects to the leather, make sure it stays in place and doesn't jostle around too much when she's traveling. And yeah, there we go. All right, let's review the materials we have. We have both mace heads this glues together. You then take this, glue this bit to the shaft to the handguard to the grip, and the grip to the pommel. This, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of this should be printed in silver steel-like PLA filament. The shaft in wood filament, which is then stained with a darker color, and the grip with a dark brown filament to basically what's the word? Not synthesis. Basically to stand in for leather. And once you have done that, you have what should be a pretty nice looking full-scale replica of Noel's mace. So I will put this together as an STL file on Thingiverse, group it together as a single project, order up the right colors, and then I guess I'll make a pre-made video of the creation process, and you'll see the final results later on. Wow, that was really simple. This should come out pretty nice, I think. At least I hope so. Sure cost me a lot of effort. The most important bit, however, is to use there's a particular kind of adhesive for 3D plastic, PLA plastic. I'm pretty sure Elmer's glue will work just fine if you want, but PLA glue is probably your best bet. For actually like strongly binding material. You can see the founders demonstrating the tech over here. Those are two handle grips glued together with a PLA to basically form at a molecular level bond between the plastics, because the glue itself also has it's also partially impregnated with a PLA particles. So ideally this should be stronger than regular glue to put together. If you're making a cosplay prop, for instance, you definitely don't want it to be falling apart at the seams. But we'll see how this goes. Oh, some printing tips. There's another reason to print the PLA filament horizontally with the shaft component. It isn't just about strength, although strength is a considerable factor here. If the filament basically prints out in circles over and over and over, you have like thousands and thousands of layers of just circles. It makes it so that way it's very, very easy to break the shaft into splinters just by folding it in half, because that's where the weaknesses are. If you print it horizontally, however, the shear strength of it will be vastly improved. It could probably even take a couple blows. And aesthetically, which is important, it will look more like wood. It'll look more like a wooden shaft. That is less important with the mace heads, with the mace's head and the grip, because the grip is supposed to look as if it's made from leather in the first place. But I would still recommend printing it horizontally anyhow, specifically to maintain the overall strength of the piece. And to be frank, I think we're done. I think we are done with this design phase. Part 3 will be a pre-made video of me printing it out, showing the printing process, showing any troubleshooting issues that might appear along the way, and then putting the thing together, which means that part 3 may be as much as 2 to 3 weeks out, depending on how fast the material gets to me. According to Gloop, they've already sent the object along, but now I need to find a filament manufacturing company that doesn't only sell 1 kilogram wheels at a time. So that's a lot of material. That's a lot of plastic, especially if I'm only making 1 mace. I'm hoping for like smaller sample sizes. But yeah, that's it. 45 minutes worth of stream. I guess we are already done. Yeah. Thank you for following along. There are like 6 people coming by to check on this, which is pretty amazing for like just a random build stream, or design stream rather. In about an hour 15 minutes, Finana's debut stream will finally happen. I'm excited to check that out. And tomorrow we'll be playing more Persona 5 Strikers. Yep, that's it. Alright, as always, eat well, my friends, and I will see you next time.